All right, this is lesson 22, Moral Kombat, right for discussion. Imagine yourself as an adult. Where would you draw the line for what content children should be allowed to play in video games? Okay, jot down a response. I'll read them when you submit. So Ed Boon worked on 6 pinball games at Williams before moving into coin-operated video games. Boone's first 2 games were arcade football titles called High Impact and Super High Impact. Oops, that's not good. John Tobias began his time at Williams working with Mark Turmel, the creator of timeless games such as Smash TV, NBA Jam, WrestleMania, the arcade game, and NFL Blitz. So here's Ed and here's John. In 1990, Williams was plotting to create a fighting game that would compete with Street Fighter. Boone and Tobias had each finished recent projects and teamed up for the very first time to create the game. To make their game stand out from all other fighting games on the market, Boone and Tobias decided they would use digitized graphics rather than traditional animations. Digitized sprites refers to the practice of putting pictures or videos of actual human beings into video games as sprites. So, when designing their game, Boone and Tobias wanted to make their combatants as large as possible while still being small enough to move around the screen freely. Martial arts movies were enjoying a resurgence of popularity at the time, and Boone and Tobias wanted to attach their game to a known personality. They pursued 2 celebrities. First was Aikido master Steven Seagal, which you see up top, who had made quite a stir for Above the Law and Hard to Kill. And second was the European star Jean-Claude Van Damme, famous for starring in movies Kickboxer and Bloodsport, and you may know him as Master Croc from Kung Fu Panda. However, neither were interested. Seagal had already agreed to appear in another game, and Van Damme was already in discussions with Sega. Rather than look for an older, lesser-known martial artist, Boone and Tobias decided to create a universe all their own. They created an elaborate mythology with complex characters fighting for the chance to represent Earth in a battle against an evil monster in a cosmic tournament that would decide the fate of humanity. The combatants, you have Liu Kang, strong and silent Bruce Lee type, Raiden, the god of thunder, Scorpio and Sub-Zero, your 2 mystical ninjas, Sonya Blade is a female special forces agent, Kano is the gangster with a metal plate covering his face. Then Johnny Cage was just kind of a play on Van Damme. When Van Damme didn't pan out, we kind of still had that role that was being created for him. And we just thought, well, let's roll with it. Boone and Tobias knew the importance of hidden moves. In the 10 short months it took to create the game, they fashioned layer upon layer of special moves and hidden secrets. By the time their game appeared in arcades, it contained special characters, moves, and ways of ending the fights, as seen below. Reptile was a last-minute idea. Someone came up with the idea of a green ninja, as opposed to the red Scorpion and blue Sub-Zero. He would be a hidden feature that is seen very rarely within the game. Boone and Tobias hoped that people who saw it would talk about it with a lot of conviction, but since no one else would be around to see it, everyone would call them a liar. What needed to happen for Reptile to appear? You needed flawless victories. You needed to do a fatality sequence, and something had to fly in front of the moon during your fight. Boone and Tobias named their game Mortal Kombat. Each match in Mortal Kombat was the best of 3 falls. When a combatant was defeated the second time, he or she would stand in a swaying stupor. This allowed the victor to finish the match with a special signature move called a fatality. Fatalities ranged from Kano wrenching hearts out to Scorpion pulling out spines and skulls. These were not the kind of graphic cinematic sequences you might see in a movie today, but they were fast with animated blood. Mortal Kombat fatalities became a sign of prestige around arcades because they were not easily executed. Once you won the fight, you had to get within range of your opponent, know the special combinations, and punch them into your controller. At the time Mortal Kombat was released in arcades, Acclaim Entertainment had a contract for the exclusive rights to the home console versions of Williams arcade games. So Greg Fishbach had turned Acclaim into the biggest and best Nintendo third-party gaming company. Acclaim put great quantities of effort and money into the Mortal Kombat campaign. They spent $10 million on their marketing campaign and $40 million on gaming cartridges. Designers created authentic versions of Mortal Kombat for both Genesis and the Super NES. Acclaim later released Mortal Kombat for Game Boy, and they sold 1 million of these tiny cartridges by itself. Nintendo of America was confronted with Mortal Kombat as a home video game that Acclaim was doing. Nintendo had some gaming standards, no excessive blood and violence for their younger audience. So Nintendo told them to tone down the Super NES version of a game and had Acclaim removing the finishing moves. Acclaim warned Nintendo that this would cripple their sales, but for the sake of maintaining the Nintendo reputation, they censored the game. We're still going to make the Sega version with finishing moves. Do you guys really want us to do that? Does that make sense? Howard Lincoln recalling the conversation with Acclaim. The home version of Mortal Kombat was released in September of 1993, and sales went through the roof. Acclaim sold 6.5 million copies. The Genesis version outsold the edited Super Nintendo version at a rate of 3-1. Not only did the decision to remove the violence hurt Nintendo's sales, it also offended most of Nintendo's loyal gamers. Nintendo received thousands of angry letters, even from parents telling Nintendo not to censor their children's games. Okay, so if it's 6.5 million and a 3-1 ratio, okay. If you divide that by 4, okay, you get 1,625,000, which was Nintendo. Times that number by 3. You get Segas. All right, so very clear difference here. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to submit your work.